You are back with Unity Radio 97.9 FM. You're listening to the Alliance for Charitable Real Estate. And our guest today is a master at messaging and monetizing and magnetizing your right people. Let's talk some more about that, Trace.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, you froze on me. So I don't know if that was me or you. But
Yeah, go ahead.
I totally missed the question. So if you say it
again. Just talking about how you are the master of monetization and magnetization and messaging and all the M's and the C's and the P's and all of that. So we were talking about how these real estate people, for example, can find their perfect person and with messaging, but like be able to attract them and draw them out like you did with me. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes. Yes, and I know before the break we were talking about you had mentioned the yes journey, your client or prospective client's yes journey, and how it relates to your advertising, messaging, your copywriting, all of that, right? So I'll share with you the 3 yeses and what they mean, and hopefully you'll start to see some little light bulbs go off and go, oh, okay, that's why some of my advertising is maybe falling flat or not being effective, or you're just not converting the way that you want. So once you have that ideal client, that avatar in mind, and you should have that first before you ever intend to write a single word or speak a certain a specific word to anyone, you need to know who you're speaking to. But that we'll say that's already done. And once you have that avatar, you definitely want to have these 3 phases in mind. The first one is you have to help them say yes to themselves first. Because let's face it, there's tire kickers for a lot of reasons, but if they're not fully committed to themselves in the process, meaning they're like, yeah, I don't know if this is the right thing for me, I'm not sure I'm all in. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk to several realtors and run them through the ringer. And maybe one of them will convince me to be all in. And that's a problem right off the bat, right? If you need to create messaging that helps them self-identify. Yes, I'm ready. Yes, I want this. Yes, I'm going to do this regardless of whether it's with you or someone else. You want that person at that particular time in their decision making. So you need to craft your messaging so that you draw those people in. You attract them in with your specific message. You're not trying to convince someone who's not all in for themselves. So that's the first thing, the first yes. The second yes is yes to the modalities. And modalities to me are all those parts and pieces that make you and what you do unique. This is where you get to introduce some of the unique ways that you are different than your competitors. So everybody, the modality is real estate, let's say, that's not unique. But when you combine it with charitable giving, for example, now we have a very distinct modality that Cami gets to, or you get to, if you're involved in this alliance, you get to explain and share with people in a way that makes them go, ooh, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. Tell me more. I want to know more about this modality. So this is your chance to be very unique without spilling all the beans, without pitching them, without having to go, oh yeah, like a used car salesman, come on in, we got this, it's so much, here's my thing. You educate, illuminate, and motivate in the modality.
Let me share with them my analogy of this, because when you first shared this with me, and when I first got into coaching and mentoring, I would hear the word modality and I would nod my head, but I had no clue what it meant. So a real simple analogy for me is modality is how you fix the problem, how you address the problem, how you show up as the expert. So a great example is something really simple. You have a headache. And if you have a headache, you could use the modality of pain pills. You could use the modality of Reiki. You could use the modality of a chiropractor. You could use the modality of drinking a glass of water, because some people say you have a headache because you don't have enough water in your system. So the point is, if the problem is you have a headache, you have all these different quote unquote modalities. And so, for example, my mother being a staunch 80-something-year-old Southern Baptist, she is not going to a Reiki healer. It doesn't matter what kind of funnel or how great you are. You could be the best Reiki person in the world. She's not going to you. So the modality needs to be something that resonates with that person, or that you explaining it makes them think, ooh, oh, I didn't even know that existed. So I just want to explain the modality. Good stuff.
I love that. That's a really great way to explain modality, because then that takes it out of the concept and makes it very, very real. And Cammie, you said something that's perfect, and it's just spot on. And that is that there are lots of other choices in how they can solve their problem, so to speak, right? Or fulfill a desire or create a solution. So yours has to be, again, it has to be unique enough for it to not sound like everybody else's. So even if, let's say you're, in this analogy that you used, Cammie, that you're an energy healer or Reiki, there's a lot of variety even inside that modality. And so now you get to say, well, yes, I'm an energy healer, for example, but I have this XYZ system that is, no one's ever used before. I put it together myself. It's a combination of this and that. And so now you're really drilling down inside that unique selling proposition and that modality that makes you different than everybody else. And guess what? They can't get that anywhere else. I call it being Google slapped. If you can Google slap anything that you just said to them and somebody else does it, or a whole bunch of other people do it, you're out. You want them to type it into Google and have your name and only your name come up, or at the very minimum, not 50 others, right? So,
and one good example, as you mentioned, is the charitable gifting. Imagine you're out at a networking event and there's 8 other realtors, just like there always are. There's 8 realtors and 14 financial advisors and 13 network marketers. What are you going to do to be different? Imagine having a specialty where you can tell people that, the work that you do funds millions of dollars to nonprofits every year. Well, that'll get their attention.
Exactly. I love that. And I will say that I will hang my hat on this. my flowered hat, those of you on the radio can't see I'm wearing a flowered hat. I will hang my hat on that is the most important when it comes to your messaging, when it comes to you communicating powerfully to your people, drawing them in, compelling them in. It's that unique modality, the way that you communicate that. Then that flows right into the third and final yes. And that is the yes to invest. And we all love that. That's the finish line, right? But here's the interesting thing about this. The way that I have always taught the messaging part of how to present your offer, how you're making that final call to action, that final offer of them to come in, sign the contract, partner up with you, whatever it is, make the sale. So many entrepreneurs drop the ball right there on the 1 yard line. And they do it because they vomit their whole spiel in a big, long monologue. Mm-hmm. And that in writing doesn't work. And it also doesn't work in a sales or a conscious conversation either. So
well, I know that has been my biggest problem for years, is verbally vomiting and being just a huge fire hose of information. Just imagine the fire hose, you open the fire hydrant and it's just blasting you in the face and blasting. You can't even take a drink of it. There's more water than you could ever consume, but you can't even drink it because there's so much. So that's why when we can get really specific for who we are wanting to attract, and actually when we come back from the next break, we're going to talk about the 3 T's so that you can help them get into to the transformation aspect of it. So yeah, let's finish up the yes journey so we can do that in the next segment.
Yes. So we all want them to say yes to themselves, right? They're all in, regardless of whether you help them or not, but you want to help them self-identify. Then you want them to say yes to the modalities that you have, that you're sharing, that is part of your offer and your unique selling proposition. And then finally, you want to make sure that you craft your offer and you deliver your offer in such a flow and compelling way that they easily, in fact, they're probably already asking, if you do this right, they're asking you, how do I get involved? When do we start? How do we start? And you don't even have to, quote, sell anything at that point. And that's the yes to invest.
And this is about being able to be of service. It's not about manipulating or selling. It's how can you help that person simply get out of their own way sometimes. And so even with the Alliance for Charitable Gifting of Real Estate, I could have done the same Cammie Baker thing that I've done. It's about charitable giving. You can leave a legacy. Let's go save the world, help the nonprofits. But Tracey helped me to see, who is your avatar, Cammie? So when I talk about it being a real estate agent, when I know that the realtors want to make money, they want to do good too. But the first thing they want to know is, how can I get more listings? How can I get more inventory? How can I get a higher commission? Because if they're a yes, that they're going to find a way to get more listings and more commission, then if they are a yes to my modality, and then the way that you help me explain it, which is full commission listings, fullcommissionlistings.com is the way that I've started to explain it so that people can actually get it. So here we are on Unity Radio 97.9 FM. You can watch us live streamed on Facebook Live or on our website at WUTY979fm.org. We'll be right back, and Tracey's going to teach us the 3 T's because I love those too. Talk to you in just a few minutes. Bye.